This is what unlocked my anxiety really badly. I was over in Bali. I ate this and dude, that next 8 hours was the worst thing of my life. And then a year later, I went back to Bali. All those feelings came back again. It was like a really, really bad panic attack. Came back to Sydney, went to my doctor. You're going to have to go see someone. And the next day I was leaving to America for 5 weeks. And then I just broke down. I was crying. I had no other choice of what to do. So I called the hotline in America. I need help. I'm not too sure what to do. And I was like, I'm in Colorado, but I'm from Australia. And they're like, oh, sorry, we can't help you. And I just hung up the phone. You never know what someone's going through. That's something I do try to live by. Some of the best traits as a human is being kind and being respectful, not judging people no matter what walk of life they're from.
But there is some things we can do. And my whole framework really trying to move us from just awareness to action as well. Yeah. So if you had to spend 14 minutes a day doing something for your mental health, what would it be?
It's a great question.
Welcome to Good Humour's podcast, Pat Clifton. How you going, brother?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for making it over here to the Northern Beaches. We're at North Narrabeen right now in my family home. You just got to spend 10 minutes with my beautiful dad. Isn't
Mate,
he
awesome.
Character?
Hey, he's great. I love meeting people like that. You know what I mean? Just like different... Just speaking to him for 10 minutes, completely different walks of lives, you know what I mean? He's talking surfing, I'm talking footy. I just love those kind of interactions with people.
And it's funny, he's a mad Rabbitohs supporter, and you were saying you grew up in Maroubra. Yeah. And he's like, surely you go for the Bunnies, and you're like, no, I go for...
the Roosters. Oh, no, dude. I felt bad breaking the news. Whenever someone's like a mad Souths fan, and they ask who I go from, I'm like, oh, how's this going to go down, you know? And didn't go down too well, but we're still sitting in here, so we're right.
He almost kicked you out in the dog box. He always says that to people, but no, we love our footy and get into watch it. And I know you do as well. You have a podcast where you talk about the footy a lot and you're a big fan. But man, welcome to the podcast. First, to let everyone know a little bit about who you are and what you do you want to just give us a little bit of a snapshot? If anyone's never heard of Pat Clifton, what are you doing?
Well, I'm sure that's most people, but Pat Clifton, I'm 27. Grew up in eastern suburbs. I guess it's like a content creator, if that's what you'd want to call it. So I've got my main podcast, which is called You Wouldn't, which I do with a mate of mine, Will Gibb, and we've been best friends since we were like 5. That's like my main... that was my main introduction into like the social media world, I guess. And then off the back of that, it kind of opened doors and avenues and made me want to explore it more. So I've started another podcast, which is sports-based, called Wash, which is like 2 weeks old, like just me and another childhood mate. It's funnily enough, I met Will through the guy I'm doing the Wash one now. So it was the 3 of us growing up, all best mates. So we've got a little thing going there, and then just launched a YouTube channel as well. Just again, dude. So last year was the first time I went full time with my podcast. You Wouldn't. I had so much free time, you know, and for that year, I just kind of soaked it up, to be completely honest, you know, I love that flexibility and that freedom. But then I got to this year and I was like, right, it's time to kind of make the most of this free time and the opportunities you have and just go all in, I guess. So I love that's what I'm doing.
You got to make, make hay while the sun's shining.
Yeah, exactly right, dude. Especially in this career, you know, it's, there's only going to be so long people want to listen to your talk before it's on to the next person.
And the momentum's so important in this space. Sure. How do you build outside of just having an audience? How do you build a community? How do you 100%. Build, you guys have Patreon, yeah?
Yeah.
You have like a paid community as well as a free podcast. There's so many like little things to learn that people don't see from the outside looking in.
It's crazy. So I was just like, you know what, let's go all in. Again, build a bit more of a personal brand rather than Pat from the podcast. I'm Pat with the podcast, if that makes sense. I know that maybe sounds a bit wankerish, but
no, it doesn't.
I just wanted to build my personal brand, and I just enjoy making content. I just enjoy it. It's fun, and the fact that I get to do it as a job is just unbelievable.
It's so cool, and I love that you tie in mental health and your story with mental health real nonchalantly, and then as well with your podcast, You Wouldn't. For those who don't know Will, he's an incredible comedian, hilarious. Not that it matters, but he's gay, but he's very non-stereotypically gay. And I was telling you off air, he's taught me so much. I actually never even met him. I think I met you for 5 minutes a few years ago at Lost Paradise because you guys were doing a comedy special. Yeah. And I was doing one of my well-being things. I might have said hi to him, but I'll tell him, we're going to catch up tomorrow, eh?
Yes, yeah. You can come jump on our pod, yeah.
Okay, perfect. But I'm looking forward to meeting him. Just letting him know that, it's such a beautiful way to show that, we're all so unique and so different. I don't even know where I was going with that, but the podcast where you go into mental health real nonchalantly is really important to me because obviously, I guess I'm the mental health advocate guy, but you bring mental health into your world in a way that I think a lot of people can relate to and don't make it this big thing. It's just like a normal thing.
Yeah, for me it is, and it always has been just another thing. Like, I'm a very open book. I'll talk about anything and everything, as we'll probably find out in this podcast, but I've never seen it in a light of I can't talk about this and this taboo around it. And I understand why there is. I understand why there's that taboo, but I'm lucky enough that it's no real thing. It's just I've never seen an issue with it. So I've been very lucky with that. And my first podcast was a mental health podcast called Turn Up the Talk, which I started when I was 19 or 20. Or 2021, around that time. And there were a lot of suicides where I grew up in the eastern suburbs. There were like 9 or 11 in a span of like 2 months. And some I knew directly, some I knew indirectly, but it's a very tight-knit community, as I'm sure it is around here as well, you know. So that really hit home, and I'd always had my struggles. And I was thinking, there's got to be something that we can do. And me and 2 mates got together, and we thought, what's kind of a platform that's always accessible 24/7? No one knows that you're listening to it. Like, it's, again, with that tabooness, like you just put your headphones in, no one knows that you're struggling or you need to listen to this mental health thing. And we were young. We didn't have any degrees or anything. So we're like, okay, what's the avenue we can go down? Let's interview people and athletes and kind of break down the stigma around mental health. That if you're a young person and you can see athletes struggling who are, for me growing up, athletes were like the top of the top, you know, like invincible. So I was like, if we can break them down and get their stories, hopefully that can help people. So we did that for a couple of years, had some awesome people, bro. Nick Kyrgios, Greg Inglis, Mark Hunt, the UFC fighter, Lane Beachley, the surfer, like the list goes. Dude, we had some awesome guests. And for a 19, 20-year-old, like, I didn't really realize it at the time, but now I sit back, I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool, you know? And then we tried to get into becoming a charity, and we were just young, we were just winging it on the go. And then Luca, who I was doing it with, he's out at Parramatta now playing for the Eels, so he got busy. And then Lockie's a full-time teacher with a young kid. Like, it just, I guess life got in the way, and getting guests consistently week after week, as I'm sure you know, dude, can be really hard.
Yeah, I am scraping the bottom of the barrel with you, mate.
Yeah, exactly right, dude. You know what I mean? You know you're struggling when I get the call up.
I've been looking forward to doing this for a long time with you. As I said, your content and your podcast with Will is something that I love, and the way that you talk about mental health, I think is perfect in this podcast.
No, thank you.
But I know what you mean. That. It can be difficult. Oh, yeah. It's a lot of admin.
For sure. And again, like, I mean, you've grown up in a somewhat professional sporting world, right? So you would have access to these guests as well. I'm not saying it makes it easier, but we just had no one. We were just cold DMing people.
I was going to ask you literally. That. Kyrgios is someone who's pretty high on my list. How'd you get Kyrgios?
He was, his ex-girlfriend was from around our area, and we just kind of reached out through that avenue, and he just messaged. One night I was going out, I was seeing a girl, and I was meeting her friends for the first time. I remember I got out of the Uber to walk in, and I just got a message from Nick Kyrgios being like, hey, dude, came to do a potty. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's hectic. So, yeah, we were just doing our best, and, life kind of got in the way, but it's still something I'm very passionate about. And now I try to show my mental health through the platform I've got now by not being just all mental health, but just making it a completely normal thing to talk about. Like I talk about the footy. It's just like
the footy, the relationships, mental health,
everything. It's something that just should be spoken about in a normal light.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for that. And something I want to share that this has happened to me twice. And I was telling you once again this off air. We planned to do this podcast. Probably, was it last year? Yeah, it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it would have been probably late last year.
Late last year, and we'd planned to do it, and you're okay with me sharing this, right?
Of course, 100%.
And I was telling you this has happened twice like this. The first time it happened with Nico Hines, and I'm sure I haven't even had him on the podcast still. This was years ago. We're planning to catch up the next day, and he called me the night before and said, hey, mate, just want to let you know I'm going through a couple things at the moment, and I wanted to be honest with you, not just cancel and said it was because of footy or something. Just be honest, like, I'm just not in the right headspace to do this episode. And I've always had so much respect for Nico, not just because of that, but because of the human he is. But from that, it's just put this extra level, like that he doesn't feel like he needs to hide what he's going through from me and from people. And he kind of said, because you got the mental health podcast and stuff, I wanted to give you the truth. You did the same thing. You messaged me day off, maybe the day before.
No, it was the day off. Day off.
And I think I was like, and this happens sometimes as well, like, don't be scared to cancel on someone, because quite often they go, oh my God, I was so busy, and like, I know I can do it anyway.
I think you said it ended up relieving you some time.
Yeah, but you said, hey, I'm just going through a few things.
Yeah.
Do you want to, if you're happy to kind of try your best to rewind back.
I get in these ruts. Like, I just get really, so every day I live with mental illness, and every day's a wave, right? But in every 1 to 2 months I go into these real ruts where I'll just wake up one morning and it's just like, oh my God, like everything's just shocking. Your depression's at its lowest, your anxiety's at its highest. I've got diagnosed ADHD, OCD. It just feels like the perfect combination of all of them at their peak at one time. And you know what you need to do. I posted a video. I was in one legit like last week or something.
Yeah.
And I posted a video about it. You know what you need to do, but you just can't. Like I knew if I get up and go to the gym or go for a walk, I just can't even get up. Like it's really overwhelming. Paralyzing is the word. Yeah. So it was one of those moments I had, and I had my podcast that morning, which normally helps me. So I woke up and I knew I was in that kind of phase. I'm not even sure what you'd call it. Rut is how I refer to it. And I was like, I'll go to my podcast, which normally helps. I'm sure it'll spring me up a little bit. It was Tobler, one of the producers from the studio, his birthday. All the boys were going to the pub across the road. I was like, I'll just go over there, have a feed, and then come. Like, I'm sure that'll cheer me up. Did the podcast, still not feeling good. And then I kind of went over to the pub and was just kind of sitting around and had a little feed. I was just sitting there going, this is awful. Like, I need to just go home. Yeah. So I just messaged you. Similar to what Hines was saying, I wouldn't normally be, not normally, but I wouldn't always be honest with that. But I think it's a testament to you of your character. And we've only met for 5 minutes, but just seeing your online persona, I knew that I'm just going to be honest, you know. But there's some times where I'd make plans with friends and they will say, you know, meet this time, whatever, and we'll get to it. And it's for that reason, but I won't say it. And I'll just make up a different excuse. So it's not all the time, but yeah, with someone like you, it just felt the right thing to do, just to be completely honest, and made me comfortable to do that. So
no, well, I'm glad you feel that way, and hopefully people listening might feel that way a bit more with, you know, the people around them. Yeah, to just be honest, because like it's nothing to shame away from, and it allows other people to feel okay when they have that day as well. Because, you know, it happens to all of us, some more than others, and I appreciate that, and hope people listening feel a bit of solace in that. But we're gonna go back and get to know your story a little bit now. I always start the podcast with two of the same question. So the first one is, what are you grateful for right now today in life?
Mate, not to blow smoke up your ass, but I'd say this podcast. Yeah, like it's something that I've enjoyed watching your social media, like the Good Human Factory. And it's something that with Turn Up the Talk, we wanted to become a charity, as I mentioned, and we wanted to do workshops really bad. Like that's what we were trying to do. We wanted to get into schools, work with psychologists, and deliver workshops, which is exactly what you're doing. And the end goal, and it still is an end goal for me personally, I want to open up like a wellness center for the youth. Like that's something I really, really want to do. So yeah, you're pretty much doing what I tried to do 5 years ago, you know? So to sit here and jump on this podcast, like I said, not to blow smoke up your ass, but that's what I'm grateful for.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm likewise. I'm grateful to get to catch up and have a chat with you and all the incredible people I get to chat with. And I'm making it up as I go every single day.
That's all you can do.
But it's really cool to know that people of your, you know, not that actually, I'm not even going to say that. It's just great to see that people like you and other people can look to my work and hopefully get inspiration to go, okay, I can give back. And like, I'm far from perfect. I get a lot of things wrong, but I'm grateful for that as well.
You know, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. The second question I open with all the guests is, if you could only spend 14 minutes a day doing something for your mental health. I just wrote a book called The 1% Good Club. Did I send you a copy?
No, mate, I bought one. So I was just on our podcast tour. Like we do shows for our show. And I saw it at the airport. And dude, I do not read, bro. Like, and I'll
send you the audio.
I was like, sweet. I was like, I'll give it a crack, you know, and I got it. And I got in this mood where, mate, for the next like 2 or 3 flights, I was pumping right? And then it just, something switches in me and I'm just like, I've never finished a book in my life. Like, mate, but I probably got through about half of them. I really enjoyed it, yeah. I really there was one part, I think I messaged you, you were talking about your old man and seeing him cry for the first time. And I resonated to that as well. Like my old man's brother passed away, my uncle. And that was the first time I'd seen my dad, I was probably 19 or 18, really break down and cry. And it was just, I messaged you about it. It was very relatable. But it's a good book.
Well, thanks for having a crack.
Yeah, mate, I love this. Second half on the audio book, I reckon.
Well, the second half is all about talking about this 14-minute theory, which is where this question was framed, is this concept that I've created about giving 1% of your day to your mental health. 14 minutes and 24 seconds is 1% of 24 hours. The whole reason behind that is because there's so much mental health awareness. But you would know through seeing, you know, psychologists and therapists, there is actions that we can take that move you towards better mental health. Some days we can't get out of bed and feel that ability to get out. But there is some things we can do. And my whole framework of the Good Human Factory is really trying to move us from just awareness to action as well. So if you had to spend 14 minutes a day doing something for your mental health, what would it be?
It's a great question. I would say it'd be physical exercise.
Nice.
Yeah. So like cardio kind of vibe. Because I just feel like it really does give you clarity. And then there's science behind it, it's not just me personally. I know there's science behind it, and you just feel so good from it, like it just, and your endorphins are through the roof. You kind of buzz, you kind of feel like you're the man up personally, like most of the time. Sometimes it just, you feel like shit, but most of the time you kind of walk around with a bit of a pep in your step for the rest of the day. And it just, I find I like to train in the morning. I have a crash in the afternoon. I get too tired and I don't love training, you know what I mean? So I just want to get it out, done early. Let's move on with the day. It'd be physical exercise, bro. Yeah, I feel like it's the best thing for me.
I love that. Normally I go through chronologically, but I want to use this as a moment to jump forward before we jump backward again, because you'll probably be one of the first to admit you used to be a little bit overweight. You've lost 30 kilos in the last couple of years?
37 kilos over the last, it was over about 14 months, and now it's like 16 months, and I'm just kind of sitting around the same weight at the moment, about 100 kgs, but I was 136.
So talk to me about the impact on your mental health from losing that weight, because that ties really into the importance of this exercise, because obviously it comes a lot to do with exercise and diet.
Yeah.
How different do you feel mentally from 16 months ago?
The biggest thing is my confidence, which obviously reflects a lot on your mental health as well. But I'm just so much more confident now. And I'm still, like I could still probably lose another 10 kilos and I'll get there, but I'm happy with where I am, you know what I mean? Like if I lost another 10, I'd probably have a pretty good physique, you know what I mean? I'm happy rocking a bit of a dad bod, but you know what I mean? I'm fit and I'm like, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm not, but before I was really overweight, and I knew I was overweight, but I didn't really process it and think I was that overweight. Like, dude, I'll pull up photos after this and show you. Like, I look back at them and old podcast clips, and I'm just shocked. I'm like, wow, you really look
just
like
in your
that.
face and stuff.
Exactly,
looking,
face
really...
and everything, dude. Like I was puffy, and so the biggest thing is my confidence. Just walking around, like even still, I sometimes do it out of habit. Like you'll see me adjusting my shirt and things like that. But when I was in public, I was always like fixing the little crevices in my shirt in case there was a bit of fat showing, or like all these little things, that just, I always felt like people were looking at me no matter what for a negative. And I think people do kind of look at me. I'm a pretty tall like I think I'm a bit of an imposing figure when I walk past. I'm 6'4", pretty big boy. Guy. So I think people just kind of naturally glance at you, and it would always be like, fuck, they're probably thinking, look how fat you are, whatever. So that would be the biggest thing. But then also the exercise and eating, like I know this, again, I'm not sure of the exact stat, but like 90% of your endorphins come from your gut or something like that, which is, so the stuff you're putting in your belly and
the gut microbiome.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff that, you'd probably be able to speak more on, but just being able to get out and exercise and be confident and comfortable doing it, like I couldn't even run properly a year ago.
What was the turning point for you?
Funnily enough, like I've always struggled with my weight. Like it's always been my biggest insecurity, and I was always the chubby kid in school. Nothing crazy, but I was never the kid with abs, and I was always chubby. And then I got to like year 11 and 12, and I was training a lot because I was always into sports too. Like I'd always played rugby, always, and I loved it. So it wasn't like I was this super unhealthy person, but I just ate more than I trained. Simple calorie input output. And then took it a lot more serious coming into like year 10, year 11, year 12. Saw a dietitian, got fit and everything, got healthy. Again, I've never been like ripped, but I was happy, and I was fit and I was content. And then came out of school, had an injury on my foot. I couldn't run for a year, kind of stayed fit, but then towards the back of it, kind of slipped a little bit. Then I would get fit again. Then I had another surgery, another year I couldn't walk, would kind of fall back into that. And then I guess one day it just never clicked into time to lose that weight again. Like I never would let it get as bad as I did. Like I'd maybe, let it go 10 kilos and I'd lose it. Then whereas now, bro, I blew out like 37 kilos, and that was just over. I think I was taking a medication. I don't want to make excuses. Like I'm just things that might contribute to it. Like I completely own it. I just got complacent and lazy and fell into bad habits. I found food as a comfort always. Like food was probably my biggest comfort, and it still is. So that's something that I need to balance. I was taking this medication called Seroquel, which is like an antipsychotic, but if you take it in smaller doses, like antipsychotic in like a big dose, and I would just take a small dose for my like acute anxiety when everything was really starting to come on and I was having these frequent panic attacks. And, you know, I was taking one morning, afternoon, night. Like that's just what I had to take. And I was like a zombie. And one of the side effects was eating. So it just, and then I was so tired. I wasn't training. I stopped playing rugby and it just snowballed, you know, and I just got, I guess, comfortable being like that in a sense, you know. And then I was laying in bed one day about a year ago. I'd recently just met my partner. And, you know, when you kind of meet someone and you're so comfortable. So, you know, I was getting desserts every night and all this. And I remember thinking, God, you got to cut that back. And I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about eat good for 5 days and then eat shit for 2. Then after 2 weeks, eat good for 6 days, eat shit for 1. And that's what lit this spark inside me. Fuck that, bro. You got to go lose some weight, you know? And I knew how to do it. I knew about calories. I knew about what to eat. I knew about training. I knew about exercise. I grew up around rugby. I grew up around sport. Like it wasn't like I was so unbeknownst to it. It was just purely on myself. And I just woke up the next day and I started tracking calories and just, did it from there.
Good on you, man. It's super inspiring. I'm sure there's going to be someone listening that's like, it's just that moment sometimes I feel like, and you know, I've been very fortunate. Weight's never been something I've had to worry about. I've got one of those metabolisms that I can seem to eat whatever I want.
People dude.
I'm that guy. I'm that guy that's like, will always have a head of hair. And like my dad still surfs every day. He's in his 60s and I feel like I've got his genes. Like he's never had, you know, weight or anything. So very lucky in that sense. But let's go back and learn your story a little bit, man, because it's quite unique. And I'm really excited to hear about these friendships through primary school because, you know, to meet a friend that you're still best friends with now from when you're 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a 50-50. There's a lot of people have childhood friends. Some don't. I'm probably not really friends with any, I mean, because I moved states, but I'm like not, I've got like 2 friends that like I'm here this week and I probably won't even catch up with them but talk me through your childhood. I don't know where I was going with that, but what was your childhood like? Where'd you grow up? What was life like up until high school?
So I grew up in all around like, Maroubra, Botany, East Gardens or Eastern Suburbs. My old man's a chippy, so he would, when I was a kid, he had his own business. He would buy an old house, renovate it, flip it. We'd rent, we'd live in it. So I lived in like 12 houses, all within the 2 kilometers, you know what I mean? And we're here in your paradise childhood home.
We still haven't moved.
Which is a beautiful home, by the way. And I was always around that area. 2 older sisters. Amy, she's 32, something like that. I don't know, 7 and 5 year age gap or something, Amy and Lara. And 2 parents who are together. And my parents is an interesting one. I don't want to speak too much on it because it's their kind of story, but they were never the most loving kind of couple, you know, like it's just something that, and maybe that's just the way they show it, but I always saw them almost as friends more than anything. And maybe that's what happens after a certain year of marriage. I'm not sure, but it was never like a shocking, they were always just, I saw them as friends. That was kind of what it was like, but great relationship with my sisters. That was kind of the early days, and then went into primary school. Never struggled to make friends, you know. I've always been someone who's been pretty lucky and pretty social, but always felt probably a little bit different along the way. Like nothing like crazy, but just a little bit different from everyone else. And I'd made some good friends, went to a co-ed school, so I've always been comfortable, like boys and girls. I had boys and girlfriends growing up all the time. Played sports since I was probably 3 or 4, particularly rugby. And that was just kind of my childhood. There was nothing crazy. It was just a normal kind of Aussie childhood, I guess.
What's your recollection of meeting Will?
There's no specific moment I remember, but I met, our mate Nathan Shepherd, who I do this sports one with. We met playing footy together down at Maroubra Lions or something when we were about 5, and we became really good friends, and we were like 2 real great friends. Our parents got along really well, so we would always dinners or sleep or whatever it may have been. And then he went to a primary school with Will, and those 2 became 2 really good school friends. So Nathan was kind of the middleman. Will was his best friend from school. I was his best friend from out of school. And then when you'd go on holidays and things like that and you could bring a mate, Nathan would always bring me. So then I got to know Will a little bit, and then our dads would always go watch the footy and we'd always go to the footy together.
No.
So then by the time we were like 6 or 7, we were all really good friends, you know?
Yes.
And just grew up, every year would go to Manana down near Mollymook.
No way. I used to go to Manana as a kid too.
No
Green
way.
Island, down at Green Island
mad.
off the point there.
Yeah, sick. So their families would always book a house there like every January. And then, I would be the friend who went. Will had a farm down in Barrel. He still does.
Sick.
Nathan's family would always go. I was always the friend.
Nice.
And then eventually me and Will just became friends through, in the beginning, it's kind of, you wouldn't hang out with someone without that middleman kind of there. And then eventually over time, it was just, we all became really good friends. So
did you all go to high school together? Or?
Nah, so we all went to different high schools. I went to Waverley. Nathan went there for a year and then went to St. Andrews. Will went to Scott's.
Yeah.
Bit more money from Willie Gibb. Willie Gibb. And and then I probably didn't speak to Will for like, not speak to, but kind of fell
Once
out of
school,
close friends. For probably
feeling.
like 2 years there. Like we'd still speak and stuff. And like when it was his party, he would invite me and I'd go, but we weren't super, super close.
Which happens through high school.
Which just happens, And then probably coming out of like the end of, probably maybe even in year 12, we kind of rekindled a little bit. Then coming out of school, Nathan went over to England for a couple of years. Me and Will stayed really close. And then over the last maybe 8 years, we've become all like super, super close friends again, like as adults, I guess.
It's so cool. Like, watching the way that you guys are with your friendship is the sort of friendship that I guess people like want to have, where you can have tongue-in-cheek banter, you can be funny. You cannot answer this question, but I want to ask it because it's a unique one for young men. And I don't know, maybe you've been asked this before. And I don't want this episode to be about Will. I want it to be about you.
Of course.
But when did Will come out to you and your friends? Because that's something that when I spoke to Luke and Sassy Scott, I had them on the podcast together and I spoke to Luke about it, about coming out, like when his brother came out. And it's such an interesting thing because I feel like us as young men have this stigma of like, oh, your mate's gay. Like when I was that age, that's 100%. How I would have been.
Well, it was the one. So it was the biggest payout. You know what I mean? Like in high school, and stuff.
High school,
you're gay. Like
gay. So how was that for you? How old was Will when he let you guys know, and how? Was that as a friendship group to take?
He would have come out. I mean, you can ask him this tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure it was around 17, 18.
Okay.
And
hard age.
Hard age, and that was around the time we probably weren't as close-ish. So. He never directly came out to me personally. I remember going to Nathan's house and I saw his parents and I'm really good friends with them. And they were like, oh, Will came out gay. And I was like, oh, yeah. That was literally my reaction. I went, oh, yeah. Didn't shock me, but also didn't surprise me. Like he was could have gone either way. Like when we were growing up, we were always in Manana, we'd go away with like, there were lots of families and the sister would bring friends. So like we had this thing called the bunk room where it was like we'd sleep in pretty much the garage and we'd always be talking about like, mate, she's so hot, this and that. And he would always be contributing, So I was like, okay, like maybe he's not. But then when it came, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense also, like whatever. And that was it. And I don't have a recollection of talking to him specifically, being like, oh, like you came out gay. It was just kind of, I just started using terminology as if he was gay and he was like, okay, he knows about it. And that was it. Like, so I don't know. I know it was a tough journey for him to do.
Yeah.
And he's got a really funny bit in his stand-up about like telling his parents and shit like that. His stand-up's classic. But
I'll have Will on after tomorrow and I get to meet him. I'll have him on the pod and let him tell this story from his perspective. But I just wanted to ask that because there's going to be someone who's got a kid who might come out gay or a friend who comes out gay or is in the closet themselves and wants to come out gay, that hopefully you sharing your experience makes them feel more comfortable that, maybe my friends will just be like, And even though you said like it was hard for Will and we'll hear his story on the podcast another time, just to hear your perspective, I'm hoping gives somebody who's either struggling or somebody who has a friend who comes out gay to just, realize that. I think we're all pretty much at that stage, but it's really nice to see young men. It
was just like, again, there's something with that mental health stuff I've just never judge or even thought about, like of course I used to say it to friends and mate, I'll still bag him out for it now, you know what I mean? Like he will say to me, you fucking anxiety riddled this, I'm like, mate, you're gay, like like it's just mates being mates. But it's never something I've cared about as a kid. Like it's just growing up, I've never saw it in a negative light. I was like, okay, he's gay, like so what, mate? Like just get on with life kind of thing. But I think it's also good, I mean, again, it's not my place to really say it, but I liked, Gussie Warland? He does the Gotcha for Life. He's got this thing, you have your one mate that you have for life. And I've got that in Toops, my housemate, and my best friend. And I feel like, if you're going through something like that or you're struggling to come out, you don't have to go post a Facebook status telling everybody at once. Maybe go to just that one friend or that one person in your life and let them know, and then talk to them about that. And then that relief of, letting one person know might open up. And so, yeah, I think you don't need to go scream it from the hilltops at one. Oh, if that's what you want to do, mate, go for it. Fucking, that's awesome. But, I could imagine it would be pretty overwhelming. Speaking to Will, it was a pretty confronting thing. So, yeah, that's just some advice from someone who's never done it.
but to someone who's, got a best friend who's, very openly gay and, I love watching him talk about, like, you guys talking about going on dates and shit. Yeah,
like, mate, his dating life cracks me up. It's a comedy skit in itself. Poor bugger.
Let's keep talking about your life because we'll get Will on another day. Talk to me about finishing high school, where you thought life was going to go. Where life did go.
Yeah, so finishing high school, I was all in on rugby. That was my thing, dude. Like, I wanted to play for professional rugby union at that stage. I've always loved league, but then I went to a rugby union school.
And then I was union too growing up.
Okay. Then I got to like under 14s or 15s, and I was playing league and union. Yeah, and it was kind of like
play for Eastern Suburbs. Oh, I did.
No, so I was playing Coogee Seahorses, they were called. And then, I was still mad on league. Yeah. But then it got to the point where I was like, I can't be playing Saturday, Sunday, 2 game. Yeah. Like, I'd play 1 game Saturday, 2 game Sunday. It was kind of like, I've got to pick one. I go to a union school. Let's go with that. And I still love league so much more. Yeah. But I enjoyed playing union a
Union's
lot.
Probably a better game to play.
Yeah, so fun to play.
It's so much faster.
Yeah, I hate watching it, but
it's so bad to watch. Yeah, I played union growing up. I played for like the Collery Cougars. Yeah, and I played for the Rats. And when I played for the Rats and the Cougars, it was me halfback, Clint Gutherson 5'8" for like 3 years.
Wow,
so me and Clint, we used to
a duo.
His nickname used to be Boo, and we used to pick him up to go to reps like 3 days a week. Like,
was he carving up back then?
Oh, he's a weapon. So when you're in like junior footy and there's like a gun player in a team, but they're in a kind of average team. I was in like the really gun team, and I was like pretty solid. I was making the rep teams, and I was like the 5'8". I was a playmaker. And then he kind of got imported because he was like, I want to be playing in the best team in the comp. So he came and played for us, and he took like the goal kicking duties. He took the 5'8". I went in halfback. But anyway, I was like, that's my little claim to fame. When I see Clint, I'm like, hey, I played with you. So
I was kind of going all in, and I was always like pretty good at foot. Like, I was always a big kid, so I was always pretty good, but I was never like I was never the kid people would talk about of like, oh, he's going to make it kind of thing. But then coming into year 11 and 12, I really started to get confident and find my feet, lost a bit of weight, and I was decent, you know what I mean? I was a pretty good footy player. And that was it. I was I have no other choice but to make it. That's just, I really want to do it. Like, it's just, it's something I've always wanted to do as a kid, you know? Like, growing up,
being a pro athlete.
Mate, awesome. Like, you just daydream of it. And then midway through year 12, I did my Liz Frank in my foot, which was a awful injury, to be completely honest with you. Like, speaking of my Liz Frank, it's called. Yeah, it's a weird one, dude. Yeah, it's a ligament in your foot. It's named after like an English soldier or something who did it in the war, because a lot of people get it when they're horse riding, they fall off, the feet get stuck in the stirrup, and it's the ligament that connects all your toes and your foot together. And I don't know, do you know Mark Mitchell, the physio from E-Lab? He does a lot of physio like on the surfing tour and stuff like that. He's a legend. And he was saying it's like the longest recovering injury you can do, well, apart from obviously breaking your back or something. Yeah. But so I couldn't run for a year. I was on crutches for 6 months. So that kind of took the wind out of me a little bit, but I was still like, it's all right, come back, train, play, like go for it. So then it got to, I couldn't do it for a year. So then it got to about the next start of the footy season. I'm now out of school. And it was like Randwick Rugby, Beasties, Eastern Suburbs, Sydney Uni, all that. And I was playing Colts down at Randwick. Well, I hadn't started playing, but I was with them. Did physio, started doing my return back to running, all this stuff. Was doing a trade out of school, an apprenticeship for Sparky. Fuck, that was hard, bro. I'm not the brightest when it comes to maths and stuff like that. And I experienced my first bout of real depression. So it was like, I was hating my job. Like, I was waking up at 6 o'clock, working till 3:30, which is not, people do it, but just coming out of school, it just wasn't for me. All the boys were working at the airport out of school, like shift work, making better money than me. Then I was going to rugby training 3 hours a night, wasn't playing. Then when I did come back, I'd put on a little bit of weight, so I wasn't playing at my full potential and like how I knew I wanted to be playing. I was still playing in the top team. I was still doing all that stuff, but in myself, I just really wasn't happy. And that was, I think they call it situational depression, where it's the circumstances around you. And I'm not talking like, oh, I don't really like my job and I'm not too happy footy. I was talking like I was really depressed. Like it was, I understand that circumstances in life happen, but it was really affecting me to the point where I was pretty much just living to go out on a Saturday. And that was
your
it.
Self-worth is tied to your performance at footy and you're not performing
Exactly
at the
right,
level you
dude.
think you can.
100%. And yeah, there was just no social life because I was so tired after work, and all I had was that Saturday night, and I would just fucking go for it, you know? And it would play catch up to you because then you'd feel shit till Wednesday, Thursday, you'd start to come good. By Friday, you're going, it's Saturday again tomorrow. Like, let's go, you know? So, yeah. That
easy 18 to 22-year-old.
Yeah, that was it, bro. And then it just, I couldn't, I remember I used to set, every night I would set an alarm for 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. just to wake up and have that feeling of falling asleep again, because that was my favorite part of the day. Like just falling asleep and just not feeling depressed, you know? So I would set my alarm 4 times during the night just to have that relief of falling back asleep and forgetting about the world, I guess, as heavy as that sounds.
When was the first time you seeked help with that?
It got to the point where I was hating that job, and rugby season had just finished, I think it was. And I was like, I need to stop this job, and I want to get a job to the airport. And in my mind, I still think about this sometimes. In my mind, I had no other choice but to get this job at the airport. Like it was that or nothing. And I still wonder if I didn't get that job, not saying I would have harmed myself or anything, but just I think it would have sent me down a bit of a spiral because I just had all my eggs in this basket. So yeah, I quit that job, and I wasn't fully open about why to like my parents and stuff. I was just like, I'm not really liking it. And then I had an interview for the airport, and the day before I went to buy like chino pants with my mum or something. And we went to the shops, got them, and then we pulled home. We were in the driveway, and she was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. Like I just want this job." But she goes, "You're really set on this job." And I just bawled my eyes out, and it all kind of came out. And I was like, "Oh, Mum, you don't understand. Like the last 2-3 months, like I feel like I've got no other option as to get this job." And that was the first time I'd really, not even by choice. And again, I know I said I'm very open and don't care about talking about it, but I think I just thought I could do it myself and I could just manage it. But then it got to the point where I let it all out to my mum. I bawled my eyes out for hours, and we talked about it all. And even that in itself, dude, is just such a relief. You know, my mum always says, what is it? Always stuff
problem shared is a problem.
That's the one, dude. My mum's always said that, bro. Yeah.
Before.
So that was that first time where that instant relief. And then I ended up getting a job and worked at the airport with the boys and, you know, saved money, did a bit of traveling and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my first real experience with like depression and mental illness.
And what were the steps once you saw a therapist? I just want to kind of destigmatize therapy a little bit. And I love the way you spoke in another podcast about this idea of so many people might go and see a therapist, doesn't really work, and they go, "Oh, never again." And you use the analogy, and you said, "Oh, it's kind of shit." But I love this analogy where you're like, it's like going to never eating chocolate before and picking up a cherry ripe and going, "Oh, this sucks," and never eating a chocolate again.
Yeah.
Got to try a couple.
Yeah, dude, try the Mars bar, 100%.
Like,
yeah, that's what I always try to say.
Yeah, so what was your experience with seeking help, and how beneficial has that been on your journey when it comes to mental health?
Mate, a therapist to me is number one. Like it really is. After that experience, I didn't go see a therapist. Again, with that situational kind of depression,
you got the new job.
I got my new job. The rugby season had ended. I was I'd booked a trip to Bali. Had a trip to the Cook Islands to go play rugby sevens over there. Like I was getting fitter again. Like everything was starting to fall into place, you know? So it was all good. Then I went to that trip in Bali at the end of the year, and we were young, like 18 years old, partying, magic mushrooms, all this stuff. So the first time, this is what unlocked my anxiety really badly.
Really?
So yeah, I was over in Bali. Let's get some magic mushrooms. Took a bag, not like wigging out or nothing. Just everything. It felt like I was on MDMA kind of. Everything was a bit bright. Everything was a bit colory, and I was sitting in the pool and I was like, fuck, this is mad, bro. You know what I mean? This is all good. 2 days later, we'll get some more. Had 3 bags. this is sick. I was like under the water. I ended up like fucking my year because I was under the water for so long because I was seeing stuff. And mate, I remember being like, this is the best drug ever. Like, and I said specifically, I don't know how you could have a bad trip on this thing. Like, it is so good.
Jinx it.
2 days later, get 5 bags. So I ate these 5 bags of mushrooms, and I got on my moped and I was like, takes like 40 minutes to kick in. I was like, I'll quickly go get like an earbud or something to put in my ear because it was fucked from the 2 days before. And I'm driving on my scooter and an ambulance drives past me with its sirens on. And I was like, I'd only been to Bali. It might have even been my first time, but for some reason seeing that in Bali was wigging me out. I was like, I've an ambulance going on in Bali. I don't know, it freaked me out. And I was like, am I starting to hallucinate? Like, then I'm on the scooter, so I'm freaking out. So I quickly drive home, and that just put me in this negative thing. And dude, that next 8 hours was the worst thing of my life. Like, it was horrible, and I would not wish it upon anyone. It was just this. I took myself out of the pool where the 2 of the other boys were because I was like, I don't want to kind of radiate this negative like energy onto them. And I sat on the lounge and I was sweating. I was trying to make myself vomit. And then I took myself into this room, and I remember in my head, remember that Inner Health Plus ad? And it was like, if you had your Inner Health Plus today and they're on like a seesaw, I had those in my mind, and half were good and half were bad. And they kept saying to me in my mind, I just kept thinking, don't let them take you to the dark side. I don't know what that was, but that was just ringing over in my head. And I was laying in this bed, and I'd get up, I'd have a cold shower, I'd go back, lay in the bed. There was this painting on the wall that was wigging me out. And it was the most uncomfortable feeling I've ever experienced in my whole life. Like, it was awful. After 8 hours, I came good, you know? I was just like, whew, that was shocking. Like, I'm never going to do that again. Went on with the trip. Like, everything was fine. And then a year later, I went back to Bali and I got sick, and all those feelings came back again. Like, and I was freaking out. I had the sweats. I was panicking. And looking back now, I think it was like a really, really bad like panic attack or anxiety attack. And that kind of lasted 8 hours because those feelings all the drugs were bringing it on. So now all of a sudden I'm sober and I'm getting these feelings, and I still wasn't aware of what it was. And I'm like, am I stuck in a trip? Like, is this a prolonged trip? I'm so uneducated on all this. I'm spinning out. I'm in a foreign country. I just pretty much locked myself in the room for 5 days. I was there with my missus at the time, like high school girlfriend and her friends and all my mates. Like, that, we were all a big friendship group. And I just locked myself in that room and came back to Sydney, went to my doctor, my GP, and he was like, oh, it sounds like you got anxiety and some depression, but you're going to have to go see someone. And the next day I was leaving to America for 5 weeks. So then I got on the flight, and I didn't want to tell anyone about it, my family and stuff, because it was magic mushrooms. There was this
stigma.
They still don't know about it, but like my mum, I'm sure my mum will be listening to this. Like, sorry, mum, you know, like, but that's what unlocked it all. And then I went to America, and I was with them for 3 weeks. My sister went to college over there playing tennis, and it was shocking. I had this it wasn't like I was wigging out, but I had just such bad anxiety. But again, I didn't know what it was. Like, I was
sitting on your chest.
Oh, mate, like, unbelievable. I wanted to cry all the time. Elephant sitting on my chest, like, felt like I was going crazy. And just the idea of it with the magic mushrooms still hanging in my head of like, has it rewired my brain? Am I stuck in a trip? Like, so many scary thoughts. I remember the first night I just locked myself in the bathroom and ran the bath and just bawled my eyes out. So it was manageable with my family there because they're kind of like my safe space. But then I split up and met up with a mate, and then we were heading off to Colorado to go snowboarding. And it got to my birthday morning, and it was just us. And the night before was shot. I didn't sleep. Like, I just had such a bad episode. I don't really know what it is. Like, I was just laying in bed freaking out, and it heightened. Maybe it was a panic attack again, you know, like back then I wasn't aware and I didn't know. But then he woke up in the morning. He's like, bro, let's go snowboarding. It's your birthday. It's this and that. I'm like, I'll meet you there. Like, I've got to do a shit or something. And then I just broke down. I was crying. I had no other choice of what to do. So I called the hotline in America, and I was just like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I need help. Like, I'm not too sure what to do. And they were like, oh, where are you? And I was like, I'm in Colorado, but I'm from Australia. And they were like, oh, sorry, we can't help you. And I just hung up the phone. And that
was like Lifeline for
yeah, like Lifeline for America. And I don't know if it was because of their healthcare system or what. I was like, oh, we can't help you. And it just beep, beep, beep. And I just remember laying in bed, like I was laying on the bed, just bawling my eyes out, looking at this kitchen sink. Like all these memories are so vivid, like what I could see. And I was just like, what do I do? Like, I've got no idea what to do now. I felt guilty that I didn't want to come home because I was like at 19 years of age. You know what I mean? My mates paid all this money to come there. My missus at the time's been like, oh, just like, not her fault at all, but like, just stay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're in America. That's mad. Like, just stay over there. And again, it was Toops, that guy I'm saying is kind of like that, my gotcha for life, mate. He was the only one who was like, bro, fuck that. Get home right now. Like, what are you doing? And then my family woke up because of the time difference. I told them I was feeling, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not well. They booked me the next flight home. And that's when sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because dare I say, I don't know if you've shared that in other places, because that's, fuck man, so powerful to share your experience through that. And yes, it's wild. So yeah, keep going.
That was the first, then I got back, that was the first time that I'd gone to therapy. So I got to one day, like maybe the next day I got back, and again I was on the lounge, and it was always, say like your anxiety's a panic attack's a 10. I feel like I was always sitting at a 7 for like 2 months. But then it got to like a 10. I was having a panic attack on the lounge, and I just remember my dad being like, fuck that, just like take him to the hospital. You know, like my parents aren't very educated on it either. They were like, just take him to the hospital.
I've had some, stuff happen in family that we've all had to reframe. You know, what is,
especially dads, you know, like I don't know about your old man, but my old man was very much like, what the fuck is there to be sad about? Or what's that? You know what I mean? I've given you this great life, and I see that from their generation. That's just all they knew. And he's, sorry to sidetrack, but the coolest thing ever, probably from all of my experiences and all this stuff, was one day my dad came downstairs and said to me, I just want to let you know I've started going to see a therapist.
Wow.
And I just remember being like, wow, like from when I was going through things he would never say it to me directly, but I remember overhearing him being like, what's he got there? What's he anxious about? Now all of a sudden you've gone and done that. And that was after I'd started Turn Up the Talk of that podcast and everything. I remember that was just like a holy shit, like that's the best impact ever.
That's incredible. Let me just throw my little situation, because I had it flipped. My dad has, and he knows this, and I talk about this very openly, but my dad has struggled with his mental health. So I remember sitting at this dinner table when I was like in my teen years, and my dad would kind of talk a bit about it, but my mum was kind of what your dad was, and kind of like, get over it. You're not get over it. You're the man. And I say that, and I actually include that in my book. And I should apologize to my mum, because I know she would never have said that if I ever brought something up. But that was just my understanding. Like my dad lost his brother to suicide. Like my uncle passed away, and my dad struggled. So I was aware of it, but I also had this sort of like underlying feeling that if I bring it up to my mum, she's going to tell me to get over it, kind of thing. So I kind of had both sides, but from the flip. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my mum was like your dad. She didn't. Not that I know of, like go through it badly, but she also didn't understand it. But she's the classic mum. You know what I mean? Like no matter what, I'll support you, and I'm here for you, and I'm a bit more
empathetic.
Empathetic, yeah, for sure. So I came back and I had that panic attack. So I went up to the hospital. And that's when they prescribed me that Seroquel. They put me on like an acute mental health plan. So there would be people who every day until I got my initial therapy appointment, they'd come to my house, they'd check up on me, they'd talk to me, how you doing, like any improvement, what's been going on. And that was really nice. It was a couple of elderly people.
To a GP and getting on a free mental health plan, or this was going directly to a psychologist? This was just going straight.
So that's when I went straight to the hospital. They set all of this up for me. They were like, do you want to stay in as a patient, or do you want to check out and have these people come and check on you every day? And like, I wasn't suicidal. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to die because I couldn't bear the thoughts, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to take my life. So I was like, no, I'll go home. Like it's all good. And we had this acute care team come, and then they organised everything with Headspace in Bondi Junction. So they organised the appointment and stuff, which normally you would go get your 10 mental health 10 free sessions or discounted sessions from the GP, but they fast-tracked that process for me.
If you go directly to the hospital.
If you go directly there, So I think maybe it was 3 weeks or something to my appointment, so they came and checked on me every day and stuff like that. And then, that was my first exposure to therapy, and I love it. I love the lady I had there, Nikki. She was so good, bro. Like sometimes, legit 2 days ago, I pulled up home and I just had a smile on my face and I was like, fuck, I wish I had a number. Like I wish I could just call her and thank her, you know what I mean? Because she did so much for me. And it was pretty, I'll say this about Headspace. It felt like it got to the point where it was very by the book to a degree of like, follow these direct systems, which I needed at that time. But then it got to the point where it was like, I kind of want to explore a little bit more. And it just, it felt very much like they'd been trained to treat people in a certain way, which is completely fine. But I felt like I'd exceeded that.
Yeah.
So that year and a half I spent at Headspace was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about now where your career's gone through this point, because, you know, you're going through a lot of this stuff in the background. How open are you with your friends through this point? But then also, where's your career going? Because you're 27 now. Yeah, 27.
Yeah, 27 now.
So what's let's call from like 20 till 27. What's going on in life?
So I would have even maybe been 19 there. So I got back. So I went over to backtrack again, just before I went to Bali and had that mushroom thing. Yeah. I went to the Cook Islands and played sevens over there. Nice. It was the best thing ever. And then on the way back from the plane, my foot, which I'd had surgery on, blew up again, really swollen, all this stuff. Went back to the surgeon, had to get it redone. So that was another year out of footy. And then I was coming back from America after all that happened. And I came back early. I remember saying to my friends, like, don't tell the coach that I'm back, because I need to get myself sorted. I told them about it, but again, I don't think they understood. I didn't even know what to tell them. Like, I didn't even know what was going on, you know? So it was hard to explain to them.
Was this around the time? Sorry to interject there, because I just want to throw in from my mass of what we were talking about earlier in the episode. Yeah. Was this around the time that there was a cluster of suicides as well, when you were like 18, 19, or was this
would have been around that time? The suicides probably would have happened maybe like 6-ish months after or something. Okay, like, that's not to be exact, but
I was just thinking more so in your friendship group, there, on your community, there's this
a little
rising awareness of mental health and mental. So you were probably one of the first ones that they started talking to. At least you talked, you know, rather than So that was just before that time. I got back from America and I really wanted to sort myself out. And then, you know, I was on that medication called Seroquel that made you like a zombie. Did I struggle? You're probably, the way I'm talking, struggle to piece together time periods because I was taking it for much longer than I should have been, and it's kind of wiped my memory a lot from that period. Like it's one of the side effects, so it's all a bit blurry, this kind of time frame and the dates. And I was going to footy training, and like I remember stretching, and like that was still my goal. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck it, like 2 surgeries, who cares? Like, you're still young, bro. I can do this. And like I was just like nodding, like trying to not to fall asleep while stretching in the circle before warm up. You know what I mean? Like. Hard to be.
And then my foot was still kind of hurting a bit, and like I lost passion for it, and that was around the time. You know what? It was around the time those suicides happening, because that's when I kind of found Turn Up the Talk and decided to start that. Yeah. And I wasn't partying then because I was too scared of drugs because of this. Yeah, true. That trip and everything like that. So I fell into this podcast, and that was my new passion. And all of a sudden, rugby just took the back foot. I just lost all my drive to want to do it. I'm extremely competitive. Like even now, I think I'd love to go play park footy, but like if I did that, I'd be like, fuck, bro, I want to play first grade. You know what I mean? Like, which obviously would never happen. But I'm just too competitive in that sense. Yeah. So that took a back step, and then it was just all in on this podcast kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And did that for a few years. Was just doing jobs on the side, like airport, but then after I had my other surgery, I had to leave that. Then I was doing after school care for a little bit, before and after school care, and then I got offered a job at the podcast where we were doing the Turn Up the Talk show. We were doing it from there, and then they offered me a job, and like so there was a place called Radio Hub, and it was one of the boys' dads from the year below us. We messaged him and said, "This is what we want to do." He said, "We'll sponsor it. You can do it for free. I'll teach you how to do everything. Like you can edit, you can record, you can use all the equipment. Whenever no one's using our studio, you can come in and use it, but then you do all the work yourself." Yeah. So I was always in there doing our show and editing and stuff. Yeah, it was really, really good. Been the best thing for my career now. Yeah. And then the bloke Silky was kind of like, fuck, we're kind of looking for a guy to help produce shows and edit and stuff. Do you want to give it a go? I was like, yeah, 100%. Like I've been doing my one for a while. So then I fell into that. So that was probably 4 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, about 4 years ago.
I'm perfect.
So then I was managing that with before and after school care, like doing a bit of both. And then 3 years ago, started my new podcast. And then about a year and a half ago, became full-time with that. Stopped at that Radio Hub job and
got to go full-time.
And got to go full-time with the content.
What's What's been your favorite thing about being able to, I mean, you said you had a year where you kind of started going like, mate, I've got free time. I need to do other stuff. But you guys also did a big live tour, right?
Yes.
Let's do 2 last segments I want to talk about. I want to talk about, your podcast and live tour and like how special that's been.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about your relationship, because your relationship's something that I love to watch on social media, and it's such a unique story.
I love talking about it, dude,
and I love watching you talk about it because your face lights up, and that's how we should all speak about our partners. So, talk to me about the live tours and how special it's been being full time in the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
And the community that you've built. Let's go there.
So then I started that one with Will. He was doing a podcast that fell through this around the same time. Turn Up the Talk was kind of taking a back foot,
so and it was just
we'd both done it before, and it just kind of made sense. We were both single at the time, and we were talking about dating stories, and we're like, should we just do like a dating podcast for blokes? Like, no one really talks about that. I'm like, let's just do a podcast.
Straight and gay guy.
Yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic, bro. And especially not just that, it's also like complete polar opposites. Like I'm this 6'4", love my sport, typical Aussie. Will would call me a bogan, you know what I mean? Like, and he's this little twink who loves drama and did acting and all this kind of stuff. So he's really helped me come into this kind of world, and he's been a real big inspiration for me. But so we decided to start this one, and my goal was always, I've hated work. Like, call me lazy, call me whatever. I fucking hate working for somebody. But I always have.
I had this fucking thought the other day. It's like, anyone who goes to work for a bunch of hours to make somebody else rich. Yes. No wonder you hate work.
Yeah,
no wonder
exactly
we all hate,
right, dude. Yeah.
It's easy for me to talk from, being my own business, owning my own business, but I worked as
we've
job
all
sites
done it
for
before,
4 or 5 years to be able to fund my surf career.
Yeah.
Nothing against those, but I'm just like,
dude, there's a great quote, and it's saying about that. It's kind of like saying about you're getting paid to make someone else's dreams come true or something, and that's just how I've always had this outlook. And of course you have to, like coming out of school, it's just a natural progression. I think you probably aren't as open-minded then, or you just kind of fall into those general, you finish school, you get a job. Like that's just kind of how life goes. And then it got when I first started this podcast, yes, I love doing it and it's fun. Like I loved podcasting, but I was like, bro, I would love to do this full time and just work for myself and have flexibility and have freedom, do what I want when I want. My sister around that time had her baby, my first niece, who we've got a great relationship. So, I just want the freedom to do that kind of stuff. So I just chase it. And don't get me wrong, I work hard at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's just, I worked hard there and I still do, but now we've got to produce and stuff. But I was editing everything, because Will had a growing TikTok. Like Will's got over nearly 2 million followers, so he had his own thing going. Whereas for me, it was my only option that was my only avenue.
It was like your thing. Will has his comedy and
exactly where it was Will's kind of side thing to a degree, right? So I was just, which is completely understandable. And
fair enough.
I was just like, I'm just going all in on it. Like this is my thing with Will, but I'm the one who's going to drive this. So I just chase it till it got to the point now, and I still do that. I still just want to go. But I've just lost my train of thought of where I was going. The live shows and stuff. So then it got to the point where I started doing it full time, had so much freedom. I could take my niece, drop her to school. I go watch her gymnastics. I could do all this stuff, bro. Like I'm very, very family orientated. Like I love my family so much. And then it gets to the point where, we can start doing some live shows and there's a big enough audience to do these tours and stuff. And it's the coolest thing in the world, bro. Like you go on stage to 500 people, and not that I don't think that I've got, I do have a platform, right? But in my mind, I'm just the most, and I don't want this to come across arrogant, but I'm just the most normal person ever, right? But to some people, realistically, I guess people sometimes look at me in a cooler kind of light, right? And through the lens, but which is not true at all. But I'm just the most average, normal person, bro. So for me to go out there and go on stage to people who have paid tickets, get on flights all around the country with your best mate, and just create content, like it spins me out every day. And I don't just say it, like I'm so fucking grateful for the people who listen to our podcast. And I'm so grateful for Will for giving me the chance to do it. Because like I said, he had an established platform. He could have picked anybody, you know, like he could have gone to another creator with a big following and said, hey, like, let's do this.
Yeah, but that's what makes you guys at your best mates. You can talk shit like unlike any other real, you know, that's kind of like the Luke and Sassy Scott thing too. It's like you guys are pretty much brothers. You've been mates since you were 5 years old.
That's true, yeah.
It creates that dynamic that you can't get from just putting two superstars.
That's true. Which is what he saw, but I always
and you're amazing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think I've come good into it, but yeah, it's just such a spin out, bro, to do this stuff, and I'm so grateful to everybody who supports, who listens, and like I said, it sounds. I don't want people to think that I somehow think I'm this cooler person, but by saying I am just the most normal.
No, but
like I seriously am. But like the way sometimes you'll get messages being like, you're so amazing, you're this and that. It's like, no, I'm just the most normal fucking person ever. And I just get to live this crazy dream.
Because there's a lot of people in this space that aren't being them true self, who won't talk about mental health, who won't share their relationship hardships. And that's what I think people love. And you like speak very well. You have incredible, like, you know, humor to you, the way you speak, but you're real. And I think that's what people love. And don't as well talk yourself down from the fact that you've actually been building this for 10 years.
Yeah,
you
that's true.
You started a podcast when you were in your late teens. You had the courage to go and seek help. You have the courage to be able to share your story. And that's why people listen and they relate. You had the wit about you to edit other podcasts so you could learn the skills behind the scenes. Like you've been building to be able to have this overnight success, like that people see, like, oh, you blew up on socials and now we've got this cool opportunity, and like, oh, you just had a mate who, like, if that's what goes through your head, it's all bullshit. Like you've built yourself up to be able to take this opportunity with your hands. So don't
thank you, bro. That's very nice. I agree. Just it's very hard. Sometimes you just get caught up in, you know.
It's not about blowing smoke. It's more so just about being proud in yourself. Like, fuck, look at the hardships that you've gone through. Look at the paths that you could have taken with the challenges you've gone through with your mental health. Like you should be so proud that you are where you are and doing what you're doing. So
thank you, bro. Thank you.
Lastly, you said how much you love your family there. Your story, I've seen a lot of, like you said, we only knew each other for 5 minutes, but we're one of those like social media friends who kind of are big fans of each
reply
other.
To stories and shit. Yeah.
But I love watching your relationship with your partner, and I didn't even, I thought it was your child. Like I haven't, you know, when you like follow, but not to the ins and outs of like, I'll be honest, I don't listen to all your podcast episodes.
No, most people are like that. Like,
listen to this other guy who did an interview with you who I was practicing. He was like a big fan and knew like the ins and outs of your story, I think, from listening to the pod. But I've just sort of seen the bits and pieces on social. Like you've got a 2.5-year-old stepdaughter, you've got an incredible partner.
Yeah.
As much as you're willing to share, and I know you do share it publicly, maybe just a little bit about her story and
mate, absolutely,
and the relationship there, like how special that's been.
Yeah, so Tiana, my partner, and Lani, her little daughter, who I see as my own, like I really do. So Tiana was engaged to a man named Noah, and they were meant to get married. They had a daughter together, Lani, and when Lani was 8 months and a few months out from their wedding, he died suddenly in an accident, just a motorcycle accident. And as you can imagine, that just like upended her world. And 9 months later, it was very kind of fresh after we met, and it just we just naturally clicked, right? And we had such this amazing relationship, me and Tiana. And it was just the coolest thing ever. You know, I was in the stage of kind of dating around a little bit and just having a little bit of fun being single, not really looking for anything. She was grieving, you know, like just as soon as we met, we just had this instant connection that I think we both tried to fight for a little bit, because
she probably felt guilty.
Exactly. There were all these things. Yeah. Like, you know, there were all these things of like, we fought for a while, and then we just kind of both let our guards down and let it happen naturally, you know? So, yeah, I met her a year and a half ago or so about that. And it just, like I said, it just took off instantly and just feelings wise. Like she's just the most amazing, strong, like she's inspiring, you know, like I seriously look up to her and I get inspired by her every day. And when I met her, after what you'd gone through, the fact of, obviously I didn't meet Lani, her daughter, for a while, just because we wanted to make sure things were all like always set up and we were both super comfortable with being together considering the circumstances, and we're not just going to be like, hey, here's Pat, you know what I mean, like to Lani. So but just watching her be a mum, just through like speaking to her or like on her social media, whatever it may be, and just seeing how good she was for her daughter considering what she went through, seeing how she lit up every room she walked into considering what she'd been through. And I know you've seen stuff like this with Elodie, who's a close friend of your sister's. Like, going through that is unimaginable, like she was meant to marry this man and she was meant to have a family, and all of a sudden at the click of her fingers coming home from work, that's all taken away. And there was a lot of things like guilt and all that comes into it. But then, we let our guard down and we said, no, like, let's do this. Let's give it a go. Introduced to Lani, and me and Lani got along instantly. But again, there was a huge guilt of Noah, her dad, is not here. And I felt really guilty for that. And it makes me sad even talking about it, bro, because I always say, like, in an ideal world, me and her wouldn't have met. As kind of weird as that sounds, but in an ideal world, he would still be here. Lani would still have her dad, and Tiana would be married, but that's not the way it works. So we built this beautiful, beautiful relationship, and man, it's just been the absolute best thing ever. And she's taught me so, so much. And Lani, like I said, I'd never let her forget about her dad. I always speak about her dad, and we show photos and stories. There's photos up of him in the house and things, but I have been that father figure for her for, a year and a half now. And as sad as it is, it depends what lens you look at it through, whether or not she remembers him. I hope she does, but there's a world where she doesn't. And I'm the only person she's known in that father figure role, So it took a bit of adjusting to kind of step into that role without so much guilt of, well, it actually just shouldn't be me, but then accepting it is. And that's the fact. And bro, our relationship with Lani is like, it's just the best thing ever. And yeah, I love her like my own daughter. I really do. And it's just been the best thing ever. It's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, it's amazing.
Would have you ever imagined prior to that you would date someone who already has a kid?
I would have been closed off to it, but like it never really came to my mind, to be honest, Definitely not a widow. Like, that's such like
yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's such at that age, it's so not... I know her and Ollie, obviously Elodie's in the public eye, so I know that story, but they're the only two people I know, but I just couldn't fight the feelings I had for Tiana as soon as I met her. Like, I just couldn't. It was just like meant to be in that sense of us meeting.
It's so beautiful. I'm sure he's probably looking down going like, how great that, she's found someone who obviously adores her so much, and then somebody who adores his daughter, and he's gonna raise her like his own, and have someone who's a good guy who's just watching the way you speak about it makes me like feel beautiful about my partner as well. Like, feel good about my partner to see just a love and joy that you bring to it, which is you should be really proud.
Thank you, bro. I think that's another thing for young for young blokes, like growing up, using that, oh, you're gay, and like, or if you're with a girl of that kind of, I know it's funny to give people shit, but I think there needs to also be, you should be proud to love and to be proud of the woman or the man you're with, like, and I am, like, I'm so proud of that. But yeah, it's such an interesting journey, and we moved to the Central Coast, and we actually spent a couple months apart just because I moved back to Sydney, and I think maybe both of us didn't. We just hit a phase where maybe her healing got put on pause for a little bit when we met. Not that she wasn't grieving at all, but everything was just too good. And then I went to the Central Coast, and then I was in a bit of a negative mindset. And then I don't think I was as good as a partner as I could have been, of just not as much effort. And, I didn't want to move there to begin with, but I didn't want to let her know that she bought a house there. And I was like, that's her money. She can do what she wants. I don't really want to influence her decision of her money. And then when I was there, I really just wasn't liking it, bro. Like, it's a lot. And I know Sydney's just my home and everything's here, but work's here, friends are here, family's here. And I think for her, after what she'd been through, and I don't blame her, all she needed was me and Lani. And that was her ideal of a family life. But my idea of a family life was, still being here, and her growing up next to my niece, and my mates having kids, and all being together. And Tiana, to her credit, and to me as well, I did a lot of work on myself too. We spent a little bit of time apart, and I moved back to Sydney, and she's really done a lot of work on herself, and so have I. And she's moved back to Sydney recently, and mate, we're in the best position ever. And I think it needed to happen. But yeah, it's interesting, bro, because no one's been I don't know anyone who's been in the position I'm in. I don't know anyone who's been in the position her is personally. So there's no one to ask for advice, and there's no one to speak to who's been in this scenario. So we're just doing it along the way, you know, like, and it's
the best you can.
Doing the best I can. And it's a tricky one to kind of navigate sometimes. And I try to be as best I can and as supporting as I can through all of it. But yeah, there's just little things that come up, I guess, on both ends that it's just like it can be a tricky thing to navigate. But I think we've found a really good middle ground, and yeah, it's good.
No, thank you for really sharing, man. It's such obviously a unique situation you guys have found yourself in, but it's so beautiful, the open mind and heart that you've brought to it. I'll have to introduce you to Brock, Elidy's new partner. If you're up on the Goldie at any time, he's a fucking legend, Brock, like such a legend. But you know, you guys have got a relatability that a very, very unique amount of people have, which 100%. I'd love to introduce you guys. But man, this has been an amazing chat. Looking forward to catching up tomorrow on your guys' pod. Bro. I'll ask you the last question, and then I'll ask you what you got coming up. So
can I just say, sorry, Tiana, my partner, when she was living in the Central Coast, she wasn't living for herself, right? She was living just so much for Lani. And part of that growth is she's really started to live for herself. And we both realized that we needed to get to a point where we were happy in life without each other, and we were just a bonus, and we both got to that point, and now it's just an added bonus. But she went away and she's started some social media stuff as well. So she's like sharing her healing journey, sharing some mum life, like getting back to, you know, after going through such a traumatic experience. So I just wanted to, Tiana Ivy one is her page. I just wanted
to give that notes if you want to go follow. Maybe I can have her on the podcast.
Yeah,
mate. She'd be open to.
We had her on ours last week. She's so good at it. She's so fresh. She's only had her social media like 6 months or something, but
I'll put it in the show notes.
She's getting all used to it. Yeah, I just wanted to give her a little shout out because she's great. Yeah, she's amazing. So cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll try and get her on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
The question I always finish my podcast with, the same for over 200 guests now. Yeah. What does being a good human mean to Pat Clifton?
I mean, it's a lot of things. I think some of the best traits as a human is being kind and being respectful, and just not judging people no matter what walk of life they're from. Like, I think there's a fine line. I mean, you know, if anyone's listened to my podcast, it can be pretty rogue. It can be pretty gruesome. We can say some funny or ridiculous things. But at the end of the day, there's a fine line between, you know, having a bit of a laugh and having banter and not being a bad person and just being nice to people. You know, like when you walk past someone, give them a smile. And I'm not saying I do that all the time. You know what I mean? Like I've been told so many times, like, you've just got a bad resting face, you know what I mean? Like you look angry.
Yeah, but also have the awareness that somebody might be in a dark day like you shared. Yeah. Like people after today's episode will understand how many days that you would have walked past someone and they have no idea what's going on in your head. So not judging someone if they don't.
Yeah, that's true.
Recognizing that, you know.
But if you're, so just things like just being so... That's a good point. You never know what someone's going through. And that's something I do try to live by. So I always have like if this is my own kind of rule, but if I meet someone, I'll always kind of give them 3 chances before I form an opinion on them because you never really know. Yeah. And maybe they get unlucky and they had 3 bad days in a row. But for the most part, I think, you know, like if you meet someone and they're, you know, not what you thought, or they're a little bit grumpy, or they're a bit short with you, or whatever it may be, give them a chance. Yeah. Give them a bit of benefit of the doubt, and you really never know what someone's going through. And just be kind to everybody for that reason, and just don't be a dick. You know what I mean? Like seriously, just don't fucking bully people. Don't comment shit on people. I don't like everyone. You know what I mean? Like, I scroll social media, I see things, and I won't lie. I'll be like, like I wouldn't have posted that. Don't go comment shit on. You know what I mean? Like you're all allowed your opinions, but just don't be a bad person.
Mean.
And yeah, just don't. You know, don't be mean, because there's 1,000 things they could say about you too. Don't worry about that. So. Just, you never know what someone's going through, and just seriously, just be nice to everyone. Like, mate. Yeah, that's all you can do.
Very well said. And thank you so much for your openness. It's probably been one of my favorite chats for
thank you, bro.
The stories you've taken me on, the behind the scenes of your mental health. Obviously, this is a mental health podcast, but to be honest, we usually don't go that deep. Obviously, some people share about their ups and downs with mental health and, you know, different things that have gone on in friendships, in families, and relationships you've had has been, really special. And the journey you guys have been on, when it comes to the podcast and where you guys are going, is super exciting. So I'll leave in the show note a link to all your socials, to your podcast, to your YouTube. I'll leave it to Lani.
Tiana. Lani's my stepdaughter.
Lani's
yeah.
No,
my grandma still gets confused, bro.
But yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure for jumping on Good Humans.
No, thank you for allowing me to be so comfortable to open up and share. And like I said, my memory can be a bit dazed, so sorry if I went on a bit of a journey. But bro, I love what you're doing. The message you're sending, like I said, you're literally doing what I dreamed to do 5 years ago. So I have the utmost respect for you, bro. And it's a pleasure to sit and chat with you. And I'm keen to get on ours tomorrow.